This video is brought to you by Nebula. Today, Japan's stock soared following yesterday's global market crash. Bangladesh's Prime Minister flees the country amid anti-government protests, and Biden's security administration meets to discuss Iran's response against Israel. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Tuesday the 6th of August, 2024. Today, Japanese stocks have soared one day after its largest one-day fall in 37 years. Yesterday, markets around the world started with a plunge reminiscent of 1987's Black Monday, a crash that swept around the world and pummeled Wall Street with more steep losses, and Japan was hit hard. Japanese stock markets plunged more than 12%. However, today the Nikkei 225 stock index has jumped by 10.23%, or 3,217 points, in its biggest one-day gain in points, which almost reversed yesterday's record drop. Today's dramatic rebound in Tokyo was so intense that trading in Nikkei and Topix futures contracts was automatically suspended during the Tuesday morning session. The crash was triggered by concerns that the US may be headed for recession, and was exacerbated by the Bank of Japan's decision to hike rates on Wednesday. Basically, because inflation has been relatively low in Japan, and Japan has a ton of debt, the Bank of Japan has kept rates static around zero. At the same time, other central banks have been raising rates, so the yen has declined in value. This has tempted investors into so-called carry trades, where investors borrow cheaply in yen to buy higher yield assets, including Japanese stocks. However, as other central banks like the Fed have stopped raising rates, and the Bank of Japan has started raising rates, the yen has appreciated, and this carry trade has become less viable. The BOJ's decision on Wednesday sparked a massive unwinding of these trades and therefore a collapse in Japanese stocks, which had a knock-on effect on other markets, both because it panicked investors and also because Japanese investors had to sell foreign assets like American stocks to meet liabilities during the turmoil. However, few analysts think Japanese firms are in deep distress or fear for the stability of the country's financial system, and Japan's striking reversal has returned investor confidence in the country's economy. The executive director of Monex Group Japan, commenting on Japan's economic outlook, told the BBC that Japan's fundamentals are strong, recession risks are nil, and corporate lenders are dead set on raising capital returns. However, not everyone is convinced. Japan's rapid drops and swings can have knock-on consequences, and the country's financial heft means Japan could become a source of further volatility in nervous global markets, as the world enters a period of stark global and geopolitical uncertainty. Head of Executive Services at investment group CLSA Tokyo has said that while the market has rebounded a lot, the bigger picture uncertainty remains, and the big question which investors will be asking is whether the Bank of Japan can now raise rates again this year, and whether the Fed will cut. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Mario Kart Pro, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for just $1.99. Our next story is an update from Bangladesh, where the long-term Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has resigned and fled the country amid a flare-up of anti-government protests. On Monday, Hasina dramatically ended her 20 or so years in power, plunging the country of more than 170 million people into a period of uncertainty. To give you some context, Hasina's resignation followed a particularly deadly weekend of protests in early August, in which more than 90 people, including 13 police officers, were killed in one day. Then, on Monday, the student protest leader called for a march on the capital Dhaka, which led to thousands of people taking to the streets in defiance of a nationwide curfew. By the early afternoon, the crowd was so big that police had reportedly given up, and it then emerged that Hasina had resigned and fled Bangladesh along with her sister. So, how is this likely to end? Well, the head of the army has called for calm and said he would consult with the figurehead president to try and form an interim government. However, the student protesters have indicated that they will not accept any army-supported government, so it's not yet clear where this all might lead. Anyway, we've got a full video on the Bangladesh protest coming out on the TLDR Global channel tomorrow, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. Next up, US President Joe Biden met with his senior national security team on Monday to discuss concerns over a possible retaliation attack from the Iranians on Israel. In a statement after the briefing, Biden said, "We received updates on threats posed by Iran and its proxies, diplomatic efforts to de-escalate regional tensions, and preparations to support Israel should it be attacked again." This follows the death of the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was killed in Iran's capital Tehran last month. In response, Iran vowed that the incident will be met with a harsh and painful response. On Monday, the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, said, "The Islamic Republic of Iran is in no way seeking to expand the scope of war and crisis in the region, but this regime, or Israel, will definitely receive a response for its crimes and insolence." For context, Haniyeh's death on the 31st of July was confirmed by Iran's Revolutionary Guards, hours after Israel said it killed a senior Hezbollah commander in the Lebanese capital of Beirut. While Israel has not yet commented on Haniyeh's death, the assassination of two senior Iran-backed militant leaders raised concerns of further regional escalation. Now, with tensions growing, countries including the US and the UK are urging their citizens to leave Lebanon, where it's feared that Hezbollah, an Iran-backed militia and political movement, could coordinate a type of response. Moving to the world of tech now, where a US judge has just ruled that Google acted illegally to maintain their monopoly over online search. Back in 2020, Alphabet, the parent company of Google, was sued by the US Department of Justice, a case that came to its conclusion on Monday. Following the ruling, US District Judge Amit Mehta wrote that, after having carefully considered and weighed the witness testimony and evidence, the court reached the following conclusion. Google is a monopolist and is acted as one to maintain its monopoly. It has violated Section 2 of the Sherman Act. In essence, the ruling goes against their practice of spending tens of billions of dollars on contracts to ensure that they're the world's default search provider on mobile devices and browsers. This creates a monopoly and prevents other search engines from being able to get a foothold. As things stand, it's unknown exactly what penalty Alphabet will be given, nor how they'll have to change their business practices going forward. Our final uplifting story today is about a paralysed man who hopes to become the first person to cycle the entire 1,000-mile length of Britain using a motorised bike controlled by his chin. Over 19 years ago, Andy Walker suffered a spinal cord injury after hitting a rock as he dove into the sea from Goa, India. He was paralysed from the neck down, and local doctors gave him just a 1% chance of survival. After having major surgery in Delhi at a hospital specialising in spinal injuries, he was flown back to England, where he spent 8 months in Sheffield Northern Hospital. The 47-year-old started his daring voyage from Land's End 2 days ago in a specially made quad bike, with the goal of arriving at John O'Groats in 2 weeks. He's aiming to raise thousands for a charity involved in motor neuron disease, or MND, an incurable brain condition. Walker said, "Since my accident, I've had absolute conviction and determination to lead a full and rewarding life. And this will be physically and mentally tough for me, but I'll be able to get through it with the support of my friends and family, and knowing the money I raise will help transform the lives of so many people." Andy and his team will start in Cornwall before heading through Shropshire and then go up to the Yorkshire Dales and the Lake District before reaching John O'Groats in Scotland. Keep diving deeper into this and other news stories over on Nebula, where the TLDR team curates the most important news videos from around the world, saving you from a deluge of bad news and helping you pay attention to what really matters. That means no more feeling out of touch. On Nebula News, the TLDR team acts as your guide through the media landscape, sharing the news we're paying attention to, helping you find stories that matter, and avoiding burnout. If you don't know already, Nebula is the streaming service that we co-own with a bunch of your favourite creators. There you can watch original content like Real Life Law's incredible series War Room, which every month runs you through a whole load of ongoing conflicts, keeping you in the loop. You can also watch every TLDR video on Nebula ad-free, and in many instances before they land on YouTube. If you're not a member already, then click the link in the description to sign up now. If you do, you'll get 40% off an annual plan by using our link. Plus, Nebula will know you came from us, which really helps us out. We've got some really great feedback from existing members, so I hope you enjoy all the effort we're going to with Nebula News.